The rain came down in sheets, hammering the hood of my black Range Rover like it was trying to break through. Lake Tahoe stretched out ahead, a gray blur of water and mist under the storm. I'd pulled over on some back road, the kind you'd miss if you weren't looking for it, and there she was, Maya Torres, standing next to me in the downpour. Her white blouse clung to her like a second skin, soaked through, outlining every curve I'd spent months pretending not to notice. Her dark hair was plastered to her face, dripping water down her neck, and those fierce brown eyes were locked on mine, wide with something between shock and hunger. I'd just handed her a folder, soggy now, ink probably running, containing the papers to an irrevocable trust. $500 million of my own money, not Carter Tech's, to fund the Carter Torres Foundation. She was in charge of it, not me. And I'd told her I was stepping down as CEO, walking away from the empire I'd built from nothing in a Chicago basement. The words still hung in the air, heavy as the raindrops pelting us. "You're insane," she said, her voice barely cutting through the roar of the storm. She held the folder like it might bite her. "You're throwing away everything for this?" I stepped closer, water streaming off my jacket, my boots squelching in the mud. My heart was pounding harder than it ever had in a boardroom, and I'd faced down plenty of sharks in my day. "No," I said, my voice rough, raw. "I'm finally building something real." And then I kissed her. It wasn't planned. Hell, I hadn't even meant to touch her. But the second my lips hit hers, it was like the world cracked open. Her mouth was warm against the cold rain, soft and fierce all at once, and she didn't pull away. Not right away. Her hands gripped my shirt, bunching the wet fabric, and for a heartbeat, she kissed me back, hard, like she'd been waiting for it as long as I had. The taste of rainwater mixed with the faint salt of her skin, and I could feel her trembling. Or maybe that was me. Then she shoved me back, breaking it off, her chest heaving. "Ethan Carter, what the hell are you doing?" I wiped my mouth with the back of my hand, grinning like a damn fool despite the sting of her push. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I'm not sure I deserve you, Maya. I'm damn well gonna try, though." She stared at me, rain streaking down her face, and I could see the gears turning behind those eyes that had cut through my bullshit from the first day we met. "This isn't a game," she said finally, her voice shaking. "You don't get to play hero and expect me to swoon." "I'm not playing," I shot back. "Not anymore." She didn't answer, just clutched that folder tighter and turned toward the lake, letting the wind whip her hair around her face. I stood there, soaked to the bone, watching her, knowing I'd just turned my life inside out for a woman who might never trust me. And yet, I'd never felt more alive. Let me take you back to how it all started, because this isn't some fairy tale about a rich guy and a pretty girl. This is about how I, Ethan Carter, went from ruling a tech empire in San Francisco to standing in the rain, begging for a chance at something I couldn't buy. I grew up in a shitty part of Chicago, Englewood if you know it. Cracked sidewalks, boarded up houses, the kind of place where you learn quick that nobody's handing you a damn thing. My mom scrubbed floors at a hospital till her hands bled, trying to keep me fed after my dad split when I was 6. She died when I was 17, lung cancer, no insurance, and I swore I'd never be broke again. Started Carter Tech in a basement with a stolen laptop and a dream, coding apps till my eyes burned. By 35, I'd turned it into a billion-dollar beast. Software, AI, you name it. Forbes called me ruthless, brilliant, unstoppable. They weren't wrong. I worked 20-hour days, crushed competitors, and didn't give a damn about anything that didn't move the needle. Relationships? Sure, I had them. Dated models, lawyers, CEOs, beautiful women who liked my penthouse view and my Amex black card. But love, that was for suckers. My ex-fiancée, Rachel Hayes, taught me that 10 years ago when she bailed the minute Carter Tech hit a rough patch. Lesson learned. People stay when there's something to gain, leave when there's not. Simple math. The Carter Foundation was my tax write-off, my PR flex. Started it 7 years ago. Named it after my mom's maiden name to look good. Every spring, I'd throw a gala in San Francisco. $5,000 a plate, black tie crowd, champagne flowing. I'd write a fat check, shake some hands, and call it a day. Social responsibility? Box checked. That night last April, I figured it'd be the same old song and dance. I was in my tux, sipping Dom Perignon, nodding at senators and tech bros who kissed my ass for contracts. The ballroom at the Fairmont was dripping with money, crystal chandeliers sparkling, marble floors gleaming under golden light, waiters gliding around with trays of caviar. I was the king of it all, untouchable. Then she walked in. Maya Torres didn't belong there, not in the way the rest of them did. No diamonds, no designer gown, just a plain black dress that hugged her like it didn't care who noticed. She wasn't tall, maybe 5'4", but she carried herself like she owned the damn room. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun, a few strands loose, and she had an iPad under her arm instead of a clutch. While everyone else was networking or posing for pics, she was circling the impact reports I'd had printed up on easels, my "look how generous I am" propaganda. I watched her for a minute, amused. People don't ignore me at my own event. So I strolled over, glass in hand, ready to charm her or shut her down, whichever came first. "Enjoying the show?" I asked, flashing my best CEO grin. She didn't even look up at first, just kept tapping her screen. Then she turned, and those eyes hit me like a punch, dark, sharp, fearless. "Your dropout prevention program in Oakland's a joke, Ethan," she said. No hello, no small talk. "You're spending more on this party than on those kids." I blinked, caught off guard. Nobody talked to me like that. Not employees, not rivals, sure as hell not strangers. "Excuse me?" I said, half laughing. "Who are you?" "Maya Torres, education policy consultant." She handed me a business card, plain white, no frills, and went right back to tearing me apart. "Your foundation's posting numbers with no context. You're taking credit for work community groups did despite you. This isn't charity. It's a photo op." The room seemed to fade out, the clinking glasses, the jazz band, the yes men. All I could hear was her voice, steady and cutting, like she'd seen through every wall I'd built over 15 years. I should have had security toss her out. Instead, I stood there, staring at her, feeling something shift inside me, something I hadn't felt since I was a kid watching my mom cough her lungs out. "You done?" I finally said, crossing my arms. "Nope." She stepped closer, close enough I could smell her perfume, something faint, like lavender, and handed me her iPad. "Look at this. Your success rate in West Oakland? Flatline for 3 years. You're failing those kids, and you don't even know it." I glanced at the screen, charts, data, notes in her tight handwriting. She wasn't bluffing. Part of me wanted to argue, to shove her out of my orbit. But another part, the part that had clawed its way out of Englewood, was hooked. She wasn't scared of me. She didn't want my money or my name. She just wanted me to listen. "Call me when you're ready to actually help someone," she said, then turned and walked off, leaving me holding her card like an idiot. I watched her disappear into the crowd, her hips swaying just enough to make me forget my own name for a second. That night I couldn't sleep. Her words kept bouncing around my head. "You're failing those kids." I'd built a billion-dollar company from scratch, but this woman in a cheap dress had me questioning everything. 3 days later, I called her, told her I wanted her to overhaul the foundation. Told myself it was because she was smart, not because I couldn't stand the thought of never seeing her again. I was wrong. It wasn't just her brain I wanted. It was her fire, her guts, the way she looked at me like I could be more than a rich asshole in a suit. And that kiss in the rain? That was the moment I knew I'd burn it all down for her, not because she asked me to, but because she made me want to be a man worth burning for. So that's where it all kicked off, folks. A gala I thought I owned, a woman who owned me instead, and a road that led me to a muddy shore in the middle of nowhere, kissing her like my life depended on it. Stick with me. I'm going to take you through the whole damn mess, from the fights to the falls, to the moment I figured out what really matters. Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below. Ever had someone walk in and flip your world upside down? Tell me about it. I'm all ears. San Francisco at its glitziest, the Fairmont Hotel ballroom decked out like a damn movie set. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, throwing golden light across marble floors so polished you could see your reflection in them. The air smelled like money, expensive cologne, floral centerpieces, the faint tang of champagne bubbling in flutes carried by waiters in crisp white shirts. It was late April, and my annual Carter Foundation gala was in full swing. $5 a plate, a who's who of tech bros, politicians, and socialites, all there to clap for my generosity, while angling for a piece of Carter Tech's pie. I was in my element, rocking a custom tux that cost more than most people's rent, a glass of Dom Perignon in hand. At 35, I'd made it. Ethan Carter, the kid from Englewood who'd turned a basement dream into a billion-dollar tech empire. Forbes had my face on their cover last month, calling me the future of Silicon Valley. Ruthless? Sure. Brilliant? Damn right. Unstoppable? You bet. I'd spent 15 years bulldozing anything in my way. Competitors, doubters, even my own conscience, to get here. This gala? It was my victory lap, my yearly reminder to the world that I'd won. The jazz band in the corner was smooth, horns weaving through the buzz of conversation. I nodded at a senator who'd been begging for a meeting, flashed a grin at a startup CEO who'd kill for my endorsement. They all wanted something. Contracts, favors, a photo op with the guy who'd made it out of nothing. I soaked it up. The king of my own little kingdom. Then I saw her. She didn't glide in like the rest of them, all fake smiles and practiced poses. She just walked. No hesitation, no bullshit, straight through the crowd like she didn't give a damn who was watching. Maya Torres. I didn't know her name yet, but I clocked her the second she stepped into the room. No ball gown, no diamonds, just a simple black dress, knee-length, hugging her curves in a way that wasn't loud, but still made my pulse kick up a notch. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy bun, a few strands falling loose around her face, and she carried an iPad under her arm like it was a weapon. While everyone else was sipping champagne or kissing ass, she was circling the easels I'd set up around the room, big glossy posters with stats about the Carter Foundation's impact, dropout prevention in Oakland, scholarships in the Bay Area, blah, blah, blah. I'd had my PR team whip 'em up, vague enough to look good, specific enough to shut up the critics. Most people glanced at 'em, nodded, and moved on. Not her. She was scribbling notes on that iPad, her brows furrowed, lips pressed tight like she was solving a murder case. I watched her for a minute, leaning against a pillar, swirling my drink. People don't usually ignore me at my own party. Hell, they don't ignore me anywhere. Curiosity got the better of me. Or maybe it was the way she moved, all purpose and no pretense. I pushed off the wall and strolled over, ready to play the charming host. "Enjoying the show?" I asked, voice smooth, flashing the grin that had closed 100 deals. She didn't look up, just kept tapping away on her screen, like I was some waiter asking if she wanted a refill. Then she turned, and those eyes, Jesus, those eyes, hit me like a freight train. Dark brown, sharp as hell, with a fire behind them that said she wasn't here to play nice. She sized me up in half a second, No stammer, no blush, just pure steel. "Your dropout prevention program in Oakland's a joke, Ethan," she said flat out, like she'd known me for years. "You're spending more on this party than you are on those kids." I froze, glass halfway to my mouth. The hell? Nobody talked to me like that. Not my board, not my rivals, sure as hell not some random woman at my gala. The chatter around us faded, a few heads turning our way. I let out a short laugh, more reflex than amusement. "Excuse me, who are you?" "Maya Torres, education policy consultant." She reached into her pocket, no purse, just the dress, and handed me a business card. Plain white, no logo, just her name and a number in crisp black font. Then she went right back to tearing me apart. "Your foundation's posting numbers with no context. Dropout rates in West Oakland haven't budged in 3 years. But you've got a nice little graph saying you're making a difference. You're taking credit for work community groups did despite your half-assed funding. This isn't charity. It's a PR stunt." My jaw tightened, but I couldn't look away. Her voice was steady, cutting through the room's hum like a blade. She stepped closer, close enough I caught a whiff of her scent, something soft like lavender mixed with the sharp edge of her attitude. The crowd blurred out, the senator mid-sentence, the waiters with their trays, the jazz fading to static. All I could see was her, standing there in that damn dress, calling me out in front of God and everybody. "You done?" I said, crossing my arms, trying to keep my cool. Inside I was rattled, not mad, not yet, but something else. Intrigued, maybe. She wasn't scared of me. She didn't want my approval or my money. She just wanted me to hear her. "Nope." She flipped her iPad around and shoved it toward me. "Look at this. Your success rate in Oakland? Flatlined. You're throwing cash at photo ops while kids are still dropping out. You don't even know what's happening on the ground, do you?" I glanced at the screen. Charts, numbers, notes in tight, angry handwriting. She wasn't bluffing. The data was brutal, and she'd laid it out like a prosecutor building a case. Part of me wanted to snap back, tell her she didn't know shit about running a company like mine. But another part, the part that had fought tooth and nail to get out of Chicago, couldn't ignore her. She was right, at least about some of it. I'd never dug into the foundation's numbers. It was a side gig, a tax break. I didn't lose sleep over it. "You got some nerve," I said, handing the iPad back. "Crashing my party to tell me I suck?" "It's not a party," she shot back, her lips twitching like she might have smiled if she weren't so pissed. "It's a circle jerk for rich guys who think writing a check fixes everything. Call me when you're ready to actually help someone." She turned on her heel and walked off, her steps sharp against the marble, leaving me standing there like a chump with her card in my hand. I watched her go, the sway of her hips pulling my eyes despite myself. The crowd swallowed her up, but her words stuck, buzzing in my head like a fly I couldn't swat. I should have tossed the card and forgotten her. I'd dealt with critics before. Bloggers, regulators, ex-employees. They all faded away eventually. But that night, back in my penthouse overlooking the bay, I couldn't shake her. I poured a scotch, stared at the city lights twinkling below, and kept replaying what she'd said. "You're failing those kids." It hit harder than it should have. I thought about Mom, scrubbing floors till her knees gave out, telling me to be somebody before cancer took her. She'd wanted me to make a dent in the world, not just pile up cash. I'd built Carter Tech to prove I wasn't that broke kid anymore, but Maya's voice dragged up something I'd buried. Guilt, maybe, or a hunger for something bigger than profit margins. I flipped her card over in my fingers, the edges worn from me messing with it. 3 days later, I called her. "Meet me at my office," I said, no preamble. "You're hired. Fix the foundation." "Only if you listen," she replied, cool as hell. "Deal," I said, smirking into the phone. I told myself it was business, her brain, her data, that's what I needed. But deep down, I knew it was more. I wanted her around, wanted that fire close enough to burn me. I just didn't realize yet how bad it'd get, or how much I'd like it. The first time I really felt Maya Torres get under my skin wasn't at the gala. That was just the opening shot. No, it was 3 weeks later, in my corner office on the 40th floor of Carter Tech's San Francisco headquarters, with the city sprawling out below us like a damn postcard. Floor-to-ceiling windows, sleek glass desk, a view of the Golden Gate Bridge that'd make most people drool. I'd built this place to scream power, and it did, until she walked in and turned it into a battlefield. She showed up that Monday morning with a stack of binders and a look that said she wasn't here to play nice. I'd hired her to fix the Carter Foundation. My words, not hers, after that gala showdown. Told myself it was a smart move, bringing in someone who actually knew what the hell they were talking about. But if I'm honest, it was more than that. I couldn't get her out of my head. Those eyes, that voice, the way she'd called me out like I was some punk kid instead of a billionaire CEO. So I gave her a corner office down the hall, a 6-figure contract, and a blank check to shake things up. Figured I'd keep her close, see what she was made of. What I didn't expect? She'd shake me up instead. That first meeting, she dumped her binders on my desk, 3 inches thick, tabs sticking out like a rainbow, and launched into it. "Your foundation's a mess, Ethan," she said, pacing in front of the window, her black blazer sharp against the skyline. "You've got no follow-through. You fund splashy projects, new computers, fancy after-school programs, but there's no staff training, no long-term plan. It's all optics, no impact." I leaned back in my chair, arms crossed, trying to look unbothered. "We've got results. Dropout rates are down in Oakland since we started." She snorted, actually snorted, and flipped open a binder, jabbing a finger at a graph. "Down by 2%. Big whoop. That's statistical noise, not progress. You're cherry-picking data to pat yourself on the back while the real work's getting done by underfunded nonprofits you barely support." I opened my mouth to argue, but she kept going, her voice rising, her hands slicing the air. "And don't get me started on this gala nonsense. $5 million last year, $5 million on catering, venue, PR. You could have hired 50 teachers with that. You're not helping kids, Ethan. You're helping yourself." The room got quiet, just the hum of the AC and the faint tick of my watch. I stared at her, jaw tight, feeling heat creep up my neck. Nobody'd talked to me like that since I was a teenager getting chewed out by my mom for skipping school. Part of me wanted to fire her on the spot, kick her out and go back to my comfortable bubble. But another part, the part that had clawed its way out of Englewood, respected the hell out of her. She wasn't wrong. I'd never cared enough to dig into the foundation's guts. It was a side hustle, a tax dodge. She saw through it, and through me. "You got a better idea?" I finally said, voice low, leaning forward. "Or you just here to bitch?" She stopped pacing, turned, and met my eyes. "Yeah, I've got ideas. But you've got to trust me to run it my way. No more photo op bullshit. Real money, real plans, real results. Can you handle that?" I smirked, mostly to cover how rattled I was. "I can handle anything, Torres." She didn't smile back. "We'll see." That was the start of it. Weeks of late nights, arguments, and her tearing apart everything I thought I knew about giving back. We'd hole up in my office till midnight, papers spread across the desk, takeout boxes piling up, dim sum one night, tacos the next. The air'd get thick with coffee fumes and tension, her lavender scent mixing with the stale smell of ink and soy sauce. She'd lean over my shoulder to point at a spreadsheet, her hair brushing my cheek, and I'd catch myself holding my breath, pretending it was about the numbers and not her. One night, maybe a month in, We were fighting over her latest proposal, redirecting funds from a glitzy scholarship event to some boring-ass infrastructure project in Oakland. I was half dead from a day of board meetings, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up, while she stood there in jeans and a faded UC Berkeley hoodie, looking like she could go another 12 rounds. "This is a waste," I said, tossing her report on the desk. "Nobody cares about fixing HVAC systems in some rundown school. They want red carpets, big checks, something they can Instagram." She glared at me, hands on her hips. "That's your problem, Ethan. You think this is about you. Those kids can't learn in a building that's 90 degrees in September. You want results? Start with the basics. And you want me to blow millions on shit nobody sees?" I shot back, standing up, closing the gap between us. We were inches apart now, the desk digging into my thighs. She didn't flinch. "Yeah, I do. Because it's not about seeing. It's about doing. Or are you too stuck on your ego to get that?" Her voice was sharp, but her eyes, damn, those eyes were blazing, locked on mine. The room felt smaller, hotter, like the air was crackling. My hand brushed hers on the desk, accidentally, I swear, and neither of us moved. Her skin was warm, her breath hitching just enough to make my gut twist. For a second, I thought about kissing her, grabbing her by that hoodie and pulling her in, tasting that fire on her lips. But she stepped back, breaking the spell. "Don't," she said, quiet but firm, like she'd read my mind. "Don't what?" I played dumb, shoving my hands in my pockets. "You know what?" She grabbed her bag, slung it over her shoulder. "This isn't a game, Ethan. Those kids aren't your ego boost." I watched her leave, the door clicking shut behind her, and slumped back in my chair. My heart was racing, and not from the fight. I was in deep, and I knew it. Trouble didn't stop with Maya, though. Jake Sullivan, my CFO and oldest friend, started sniffing around. We'd known each other since college. He'd stuck with me through the lean years, back when Carter Tech was just me and a laptop. He was the numbers guy, the one who kept the ship steady while I steered it. But lately, he'd been twitchy, eyeing Maya like she was a virus in the system. "You're different, man," he said one afternoon, cornering me in the break room. He was nursing a black coffee, his tie crooked, bags under his eyes. "Ever since she showed up, you're off your game. Board's noticing. Investors, too." I shrugged, pouring myself a cup. "She's good at what she does. Foundation's numbers are up. Donations spiked 10% last quarter." "Yeah, because you're dumping cash into her pet projects," he snapped. "You rescheduled that Tokyo trip for her community forum bullshit. This was supposed to be a side gig, Ethan, not your whole damn life." I turned, leaning against the counter, sizing him up. "What's your point?" "My point is, she's a distraction." He stepped closer, voice dropping. "You're losing focus, and if you're not careful, you're gonna tank everything we built." I laughed, short and cold. "You're overreacting. I've got this." "Do you?" His eyes narrowed. "Because I've seen you stare at her like she's the only person in the room. This isn't just business, is it?" I didn't answer. Couldn't. He shook his head and walked out, leaving me with my coffee and a sinking feeling he wasn't wrong. Then there was Rachel Hayes, my ex, the one who'd ditched me a decade ago when Carter Tech was bleeding cash. She'd reinvented herself as a hotshot investigative reporter, all sharp suits and sharper headlines. Word got back to me she was digging into the foundation, asking questions about financial irregularities. I'd laughed it off at first. Rachel loved a good story, especially if it made me look bad. But when a buddy at the Chronicle tipped me off she'd been sniffing around Maya's hiring, I started sweating. If she spun this into some scandal, Ethan Carter banging his consultant to dodge taxes, it'd be a shitstorm. The real kicker came a week later. Maya dragged me to a community center in Oakland she'd convinced me to fund, a beat-up brick building with peeling paint and a gym that smelled like sweat and old rubber. I was there for the official tour, shaking hands with staff, nodding at her updates. But after the suits left, I caught her sitting on a folding chair, laughing with this woman, Lena Brooks, her best friend. Lena was rough around the edges, tattoos peeking out from her sleeves, voice like gravel. Ex-homeless, Maya had told me, now running youth programs. Maya's laugh hit me like a punch, real, unguarded. Nothing like the fire she threw my way. She didn't know I was watching, didn't perform for me. Lena said something I couldn't hear, and Maya tossed her head back, her whole face lighting up. I stood there, half hidden by the bleachers, feeling like a creep, and jealous as hell. Not of Lena, not really. Of that ease, that connection. I wanted her to laugh like that with me, and the thought stopped me cold. That's when I knew I was screwed. This wasn't just about her brain or her ballsy attitude. I was falling for her, and it scared the shit out of me. You ever have one of those nights where everything goes sideways and you don't even see it coming? That was me, 3 months into working with Maya Torres, standing on the balcony of Carter Tech's rooftop lounge during some corporate shindig I didn't even want to host. San Francisco glittered below, neon lights cutting through the fog, the Bay Bridge glowing like a damn postcard. The air was cool, sharp with salt and the faint buzz of the city, but up here it was all champagne flutes clinking, fake laughs, and suits kissing my ass for a deal. I'd thrown the party to smooth things over with the board after Maya's changes started ruffling feathers. She'd slashed the gala budget, redirected funds to unsexy stuff like teacher training and school repairs, and the numbers were climbing. Donations up 15%, real impact stats trickling in. But the old guard hated it. No red carpets, no headlines, just results they couldn't brag about at their country clubs. I'd told them to suck it up. Carter Tech was still printing money, and the foundation was finally doing something worth a damn. Still, I figured a few drinks and a view might loosen them up. Maya was there too, not because she wanted to be, but because I'd dragged her along. "You're part of the team now," I'd said, smirking. "Gotta show your face." She'd rolled her eyes, but showed up anyway, in a navy blazer and slacks that somehow made her look sharper than half the tuxes in the room. No makeup, no fuss, just her. Dark hair, loose for once, brushing her shoulders, those eyes scanning the crowd like she was sizing up a fight. I was nursing a bourbon, chatting up some VC guy who wouldn't shut up about blockchain when I saw it. Jake Sullivan, my CFO, leaning in close to Maya by the bar. He'd been on edge lately, bitching about her hippie projects eating into my focus, but this was different. He had that grin on, the one he used to pull at college bars, his hand resting on her lower back just above her waistband. She was laughing, a quick flash of teeth, and he whispered something in her ear, his fingers lingering a beat too long. My stomach twisted, hot and tight, like someone had punched me. I didn't even hear the VC guy anymore, just the blood rushing in my ears. Jake wasn't just my numbers guy. He'd been my wingman, my brother through the lean years. But right then, I didn't give a shit about loyalty. I wanted to deck him. "Excuse me," I muttered, shoving my glass at the VC and cutting through the crowd. The lounge was packed, suits and dresses swirling around me, jazz from the live band thumping in the background, but all I saw was them. Maya stepped back, brushing Jake's hand off, but he didn't budge, still grinning like he owned her. I hit the bar in 5 strides, voice low but hard. "What the hell's going on here?" Jake turned, eyebrows up, all casual. "Just chatting, man. Relax." Maya's eyes flicked to me, narrowing. "It's nothing, Ethan. We're fine." "Doesn't look like nothing," I said, stepping closer, my chest brushing her shoulder. I could smell her, lavender, sharp and warm, and it messed with my head worse than the bourbon. "You good?" She crossed her arms, jaw tight. "I don't need a babysitter. Back off," Jake chuckled, sipping his drink. "See? She's fine. You're the one wound up. I turned on him, voice dropping to a growl. Keep your hands to yourself, Sullivan. He raised his palms, smirking. Whoa, possessive much? Didn't know she was your property. That did it. I grabbed his collar, yanking him forward, the glass slipping from his hand and shattering on the hardwood. People gasped, heads swiveling, but I didn't care. Say that again, I hissed, knuckles white. Maya shoved between us, her hands on my chest, pushing me back. Ethan, stop it! You're making a scene! I let go, breathing hard, glaring at Jake as he smoothed his jacket. You're a dick, he muttered, then walked off, disappearing into the crowd. The band kept playing, some upbeat sax riff, like nothing had happened. Maya grabbed my arm, dragging me toward the balcony doors. Outside. Now. The cool air hit me like a slap as we stepped onto the terrace, the city humming below. She spun on me, eyes blazing. What the hell was that? He was all over you, I snapped, pacing the railing. You didn't see it? He was flirting, not assaulting me. I can handle myself. She stepped closer, voice sharp. You don't get to play caveman because your ego's bruised. It's not about my ego, I shot back, turning to face her. It's about him thinking he can… What? Touch me. Talk to me. She laughed, bitter. You don't own me, Ethan. This isn't your boardroom. I clenched my fists, the words boiling up before I could stop him. I don't want him near you, okay? I can't stand it. Her mouth parted just a little, surprise flashing across her face. The wind tugged at her hair, and for a second, she didn't look like the tough-as-nails consultant who dismantled my foundation. She looked vulnerable, human, and it gutted me. Why? She asked, quieter now, stepping closer. Why do you care? I didn't think, just acted. I grabbed her by the waist, pulled her in, and kissed her. Hard. Her lips were soft, warm, tasting faintly of the gin she'd been drinking, and for a heartbeat, she froze, stiff against me, hands hovering like she didn't know what to do. Then she kissed me back, fierce and angry, her fingers digging into my jacket. It wasn't sweet or gentle. It was a collision. Teeth clashing, breaths ragged, all the tension we'd been carrying for months exploding right there. I pressed her against the railing, my hand sliding up her back, feeling the heat of her through that blazer. Her nails scraped my neck, and I groaned into her mouth, losing myself in it. The salt of her skin, the way she arched just enough to drive me crazy. The city faded out. The party, everything. Just her. Then she shoved me off, hard, stumbling back, her chest heaving. What the fuck, Ethan? I wiped my mouth, grinning despite the sting of her push. You kissed me back. Her eyes widened, then narrowed, cheeks flushed. That's not the point. You don't get to just do that. Why not? I stepped closer, voice low. You felt it too. She shook her head, backing toward the door. This is a mistake. We're done here. Maya. I reached for her, but she was gone, disappearing into the lounge, leaving me alone on that balcony with my pulse hammering and my head spinning. I'd crossed a line, and I didn't regret it. Not yet. The fallout hit fast. Jake cornered me the next day in my office, tie still crooked from the night before, looking like he'd slept about as well as I had. Which is to say, not at all. You're losing it, man, he said, pacing by the window. Pulling that stunt in front of the board? They're pissed, and I'm not cleaning up your mess this time. It wasn't a mess, I said, rubbing my temples. You were out of line. Me? He laughed, sharp. You're the one playing knight in shining armor over some chick you barely know. She's got you wrapped, Ethan, and it's screwing with the company. She's not some chick, I snapped, standing up. She's making the foundation work. You've seen the numbers. Yeah, and I've seen you stare at her like a lovesick puppy. He stopped, hands in his pockets, eyes hard. This isn't just business anymore, is it? I didn't answer. Couldn't. He shook his head and walked out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the glass. Then Rachel Hayes turned the heat up. My phone buzzed that afternoon with a text from a buddy at the Chronicle. Heads up, Hayes is running a piece tomorrow. Claims you hired Torres for personal reasons. Got pics from the gala. Rough drafts, brutal. I cursed, loud enough my assistant poked her head in. Rachel'd been digging, and now she had ammo. Blurry shots of me and Maya arguing, probably twisted to look like something else. If this hit the press, it'd be a PR nightmare. Carter Tech stock would tank, the board would flip, and Maya'd get dragged through the mud. I tried calling her, but she didn't pick up. Texted, "We need to talk, now." Nothing. She was ghosting me, and I couldn't blame her. Not after I'd kissed her like that. Not after I'd let Jake get under my skin. But I couldn't let it go either. I was in too deep, and the world was starting to notice. That night, I stood in my penthouse, staring at the city through floor-to-ceiling glass, a scotch in my hand I hadn't touched. The kiss replayed in my head, her taste, her heat, the way she'd fought me and melted into me all at once. I'd spent 15 years building walls, money, power, control, and Maya'd smashed through them in 3 months. Jake was right about one thing. I was losing focus, but it wasn't the company I cared about anymore. It was her, and that scared the shit out of me. You know that moment when you realize you fucked up so bad there's no going back? For me, it hit 4 months after that kiss on the rooftop, standing in the Carter Tech boardroom with a dozen suits staring me down like I was roadkill. The air was thick with tension. Stale coffee, expensive aftershave, the faint hum of the projector showing a slide titled Carter Foundation, Liability Assessment. My tie felt like a noose, and the San Francisco skyline outside the glass walls looked gray, washed out, like the city knew what was coming. It had been a hell of a week. Rachel Hayes dropped her bombshell article in the Chronicle. Ethan Carter's charity, a billionaire's playground, complete with grainy photos of me and Maya at the gala, captioned like we were sneaking off for a quickie instead of arguing about dropout rates. She'd dug up dirt on Maya's hiring, twisted it into some sleazy narrative about me funneling company cash into a personal project to impress a woman. No proof, just innuendo, but enough to send Carter Tech stock sliding 5% overnight. Investors were spooked, the board was pissed, and the internet was eating it up. Tweets calling me a tech bro perv, memes of me tossing cash at a stripper pole with Maya's face photoshopped on. I'd tried to warn Maya, but she'd been dodging me since the kiss. Texts unanswered, calls straight to voicemail. I'd fucked up, grabbing her like that, letting Jake get in my head, and she'd shut me out. Fair enough. But this was bigger than us. Rachel's hit piece wasn't just tanking my rep, it was dragging her through the mud too, and I couldn't let that stand. Jake led the charge at the board meeting, pacing like a damn prosecutor, his voice clipped and cold. "This is a disaster, Ethan," he said, pointing at the slide, red bars showing stock dips, blue lines tracking bad press. "Your little philanthropy experiment's gone too far. The foundation's a liability. 20 million sunk this quarter, and now this scandal? We're bleeding cash and credibility." I leaned back in my chair, arms crossed, trying to keep my cool. "The foundation's working, Jake. Donations are up, impact's up, real stats, not PR fluff. You've seen the reports." "Yeah, and I've seen the headlines," he shot back, slamming a stack of printouts on the table. Rachel's article, tabloid spin-offs, analyst warnings. Investors don't care about your impact when they're losing money. The board's had it. It's her or the company. The room went quiet, all eyes on me. The chairman, a grizzled old bastard named Hargrove, cleared his throat. "He's right, Carter. We've indulged this long enough. Fire Torres, kill the foundation's expansion, or we vote you out. Your call." I stared at him, then at Jake, who wouldn't meet my eyes. My oldest friend, the guy who'd stuck with me through ramen noodle days, was ready to cut me loose. "You're serious?" I said, voice low, dangerous. "After everything?" Jake shrugged, hands in his pockets. "It's business, man. You taught me that." I stood up, chair scraping the floor, my pulse hammering. "This isn't business. This is personal. You've been gunning for me since she showed up." He smirked, finally looking at me. "Maybe I'm just tired of watching you tank us for a piece of ass." I lunged, fist cocked, but Hargrove barked, "Enough!" And two board members grabbed my arms, pulling me back. Jake didn't flinch, just turned and walked out, leaving me seething, the room spinning. They gave me 24 hours to decide. Fire Maya or lose Carter Tech. No compromise, no negotiation. My empire or her. I drove to her place that night. A cramped apartment in the Mission District. Graffiti on the walls, mariachi music thumping from somewhere down the hall. She'd never invited me over, but I'd dug up her address from HR files, desperate to fix this before it blew up worse. The rain had started again, a light drizzle that streaked my windshield, blurring the neon signs of taquerias and dive bars. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, rehearsing what to say. "I'm sorry, I'll handle it, don't quit," before climbing the stairs and banging on her door. She opened it barefoot, in sweats and a tank top, hair a mess, eyes red like she'd been crying or hadn't slept, or both. "What the hell are you doing here?" she snapped, blocking the doorway. "We need to talk," I said, hands up like I was surrendering. "Rachel's article, it's screwing us both. The board's on my ass and—" "I don't care about your board." She cut me off, voice shaking. "You think this is about your company? I've got reporters camped outside my building, calling me a gold digger, a slut. Because of you." I winced, stepping closer. "I didn't mean for this, Maya. I'll fix it." "Fix it?" She laughed, bitter, shoving a crumpled paper at me. Rachel's article, marked up with angry red pen. "You can't fix this. You dragged me into your shit show, and now I'm the punchline." "I didn't drag you anywhere," I said, voice rising. "You wanted in, called me out, pushed me to do better. And I did, because of you." She stared at me, eyes blazing, then turned and stormed inside, leaving the door open. I followed, shutting it behind me. Her place was small, worn couch, books stacked everywhere, a half-dead plant on the windowsill. It smelled like coffee and something spicy, maybe leftover curry. She spun on me, arms crossed, tears brimming, but not falling. "You don't get it, Ethan," she said, quieter now, raw. "This isn't just some PR mess for me. It's personal. My mom. She died begging assholes like you for scraps to keep her school alive. Cancer ate her up while I watched, 16 and helpless, because no one cared enough to fund the basics. I swore I'd never let that happen again. Not to me, not to those kids. And now you've made me the bad guy in your billionaire drama." Her words hit like a sledgehammer. I'd known her mom was gone. Cancer, she'd mentioned once. But not this. Not the weight of it. "Maya, I didn't know," I said, stepping toward her, hands out. "I swear I didn't—" "You didn't ask," she snapped, backing up. "You didn't care. And then I find out. Lena dug it up. Carter Tech turned down her grant request 10 years ago. $100,000 to fix her school's roof. You said no." I froze, gut sinking. "That wasn't me. I mean, I didn't sign off on every—" "Doesn't matter," she cut in, voice breaking. "Your company did. You let her die begging while you built your towers, and now you're here, acting like you give a damn." I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. She was right. I hadn't known, hadn't cared back then. I'd been too busy clawing my way up, saying no to anything that didn't pad the bottom line. Guilt clawed at me, sharp and ugly, mixing with the ache of seeing her like this, hurt, furious, because of me. "I'm sorry," I said finally, hoarse. "I can't change that, but I'm trying now, because of you." She shook her head, tears spilling over. "It's too late. Get out." "Maya." "Out!" she yelled, shoving me toward the door. I stumbled back, hands up, and left, the slam echoing in the stairwell as I trudged down to my car. The rain was heavier now, soaking my jacket, my shoes sloshing in puddles. I got in, slammed the door, and just sat there, staring at the fogged-up windshield, her words ringing in my ears. "You let her die." I didn't go home. Couldn't face the penthouse, all glass and silence. Instead, I drove. Hours, no destination. Just the hum of the engine and the slap of wipers against the rain. Ended up at Lake Tahoe by midnight, pulling off some dirt road near the shore. The storm was full on now, wind howling, waves crashing against the rocks. I got out, let the rain pound me, and screamed into it, raw, guttural, like some animal breaking free. My company was slipping away. Maya hated me, and I was drowning in shit I couldn't fix. I'd built Carter Tech to escape. Englewood, poverty, the kid who'd watched his mom fade. But Maya'd shown me I'd escaped into a cage of my own making. Money, control, walls so high I didn't even know I was trapped. Now it was crumbling, and I didn't know who I was without it. I stood there, soaked, shivering, fists clenched, until the cold numbed everything. Guilt, anger, her. That's when I hit bottom, and I didn't know how to climb out. The rain didn't let up at Lake Tahoe that night. It pounded the shore, turning the dirt to mud, soaking me through till my teeth chattered. I'd screamed myself hoarse, standing there like a lunatic, waves crashing against the rocks like they were pissed at me too. My phone was dead in my pocket. 47 missed calls, probably Jake, the board, maybe even Rachel gloating. But I didn't care. I'd hit bottom, lost everything I'd built, and the only thing keeping me upright was the cold biting into my bones. Then I saw it. A beat-up metal box half buried under the passenger seat when I climbed back into the Range Rover to get out of the storm. It was my mom's old keepsake tin, rusted at the edges, stuffed with junk I hadn't touched since she died. I'd kept it in the glove box for years, a relic I never opened. Why I grabbed it then, I don't know. Maybe I just needed something to hold on to. I pried it open, hands shaking, and there it was. A folded letter, yellowed, her tight cursive spilling across the page. "Ethan, my boy," it started. "If you're reading this, I'm gone. I know you'll make it big. You've got that fire in you, but don't let it burn you out. Money's nice, but it's not the point. Live for something real, people, not power. That's what I want for you." She'd signed it with a shaky heart, dated 2 days before the cancer took her. I read it twice, rain drumming the roof, my breath fogging the air. Live for something real. I'd spent 15 years chasing the opposite. Cash, control, a name that meant something. Carter Tech was my proof I wasn't that broke kid from Englewood anymore. But it had hollowed me out. Maya saw it, called it out, fought me on it, and I'd pushed her away, too stubborn to listen. Until now. I turned the key, the engine rumbling to life, and drove back to San Francisco, Mom's letter burning a hole in my pocket. By sunrise, I'd made up my mind. I wasn't losing Carter Tech, or Maya, without a fight. But it wasn't about keeping the CEO chair or the penthouse view. It was about who I wanted to be when the dust settled. I called Maya from the road, voicemail again. "Meet me at the pier, Pier 39, noon. I need to show you something, please." I hung up, not sure she'd show, but I had to try. Then I dialed my lawyer, barked orders to draft papers for an irrevocable trust. 500 million of my personal cash, not company funds, to spin the Carter Foundation into an independent entity. Maya'd run it, not me. No board, no bullshit, just her vision, fully funded. Next, I called Hargrove, the chairman. "I'm out," I said, voice steady. "CEO's yours. Pick whoever. I'm done." He sputtered. "Carter, you can't." "I can, and I am." I cut him off. "Papers will be on your desk by tonight." Click, done. I hit the pier at 11:55, the sky still gray, rain spitting down in fits and starts. Tourists milled around, kids with ice cream, couples snapping pics of the sea lions barking on the docks, but I barely noticed. My tux from the gala was wrinkled, soaked, clinging to me like a bad memory. The folder with the trust papers was under my arm, edges curling from the damp. I paced, heart hammering, until I saw her. Maya walked up slow, hands in her coat pockets, hair tucked under a hood. She looked tired, eyes puffy, jaw tight, but still fierce, like she'd come ready to slug me. "This better be good, Ethan," she said, stopping a few feet away. "I'm not in the mood for your crap." I held out the folder, hands trembling just enough to piss me off. "It's yours. The foundation. Independent. 500 million. No strings. You're the boss." She blinked, taking it, flipping it open. Her eyes scanned the pages. Legal jargon, my signature, the numbers in bold. "What is this?" she said, voice barely above a whisper. "My money. Not Carter Tech's," I said, stepping closer. "The board wanted you gone, so I walked. Stepped down as CEO this morning. It's yours now. Run it your way." Her head snapped up, eyes wide. Wait, you quit? Your company? Ethan, your board'll never—" "They don't have a say." I cut in, voice rough. "It's my cash, my call. And there's more." I took a deep breath, the words spilling out before I could chicken out. "I've been building walls my whole life. Around my heart, my company, my idea of success. You showed me their bullshit. Real strength isn't how high you stack 'em. It's knowing when to tear 'em down." She stared at me, rain streaking her face, the folder shaking in her hands. "Liam, this isn't— I don't understand." "Why?" "Because I'm done pretending," I said, closing the gap. "I'm not choosing between the company and the foundation. I'm choosing the man I want to be, for me, for you, for the next chapter. And I want you in it." Her breath hitched, eyes searching mine. "You don't have to do this. We can figure something out." I shook my head, grabbing her hand, cold, wet, perfect. "No compromises. I've been half-assing my life too long. I don't know if I'm worthy of you, Maya, but I'd like a shot to find out." The rain picked up, hammering the pier, drowning out the sea lions and the tourists scattering for cover. She didn't pull away, just stood there, her fingers tightening around mine. Then she dropped the folder, papers scattering in the wind, and kissed me. It was different from the rooftop, slower, deeper, like she was letting me in instead of fighting me off. Her lips were cold at first, then warm, tasting of rain and salt, her hands sliding up my chest, clutching my jacket. I pulled her close, one hand in her hair, the other on her back, feeling her shiver against me. Her coat was soaked, clinging to her, and I could feel every curve, every heartbeat through the fabric. The world melted away. Just us, the rain, the creak of the pier under our feet. She broke it off, forehead against mine, breathing hard. "You're an idiot," she whispered, half laughing, tears mixing with the rain. "Yeah," I said, grinning. "But I'm your idiot now." She punched my chest lightly, then kissed me again, softer this time. And I knew, right then, soaked to the bone on that pier, that I'd finally found something worth more than all my billions. 2 years later, And here's where we landed. Carter Tech's still kicking under new leadership. Jake took the CEO gig, smoothed things over with the board, and the stock's higher than ever. I don't miss it. Not the meetings, not the power trips. The Carter Torres Foundation's a beast now. Maya's turned it into a national model, funding schools, training teachers, changing lives with hard data and harder work. Last month we cut the ribbon on a new community center in Oakland, named after her mom, Maya Torres. She cried that day, quiet and fierce, and I held her till she stopped. We got married last spring right here at Tahoe. No tuxes, no press, just Lena and a handful of folks from the communities we've helped. The lake sparkled under a clear sky, and when Maya said, "I do," in a simple white dress, barefoot on the sand, I felt richer than I ever did in that penthouse. We're not perfect. Old habits die hard, and I still catch myself trying to fix shit with money instead of patience. We fight, loud and messy, about dumb stuff like who forgot to buy milk or bigger stuff like how far to push the foundation. But then we make up, and she looks at me with those eyes, and I'm home. I don't need much these days. A beat-up truck, a cabin by the lake, her. My mom would have loved her. Hell, sometimes I think she sent Maya to knock me straight. The billionaire life taught me you can have everything and still feel empty. Maya taught me you can have damn near nothing and feel full as long as it's real. Standing by the water that morning 2 years ago, kissing her in the rain, I didn't just tear down my walls, I built something better. They say when you hit the top, there's nowhere to go but down. Nah, sometimes you realize you've been climbing the wrong damn mountain all along. And the real peak's somewhere else, somewhere messy, human, worth it. That's my story, y'all. From a Chicago kid with nothing to a man who found everything in her. It's been a wild ride, screwing up, falling hard, figuring out what matters. If this hit you anywhere close to how it hit me, smash that subscribe button and tell me in the comments, what walls are you ready to tear down? What's your real worth chasing? I want to hear it, because the best changes happen when we push each other to be better. Let's keep this going.